What is going on, everybody? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we're going to be looking at another TDN mock draft and continuing it for a second round. So if you guys are new, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun YouTube jazz. Lots of links down below. Join the Discord. I'm telling you guys, you're missing out. You get to talk with me at any point. It's a great community of over 140 people down there. Please join it. You do not want to miss out on the opportunities like fan mock drafts and being able to just talk with me about whatever, whenever. So please feel free to join. I would love to be able to talk with you guys there. Of course, would love to talk to you guys in the comment section as well. Let's get right into this because, again, we have a mock draft on top of this. That's part of the fun part that I try to make it into my own version of the series. Is the fact that I'm just not scrolling over someone's webpage and just telling you what I think. I actually continue it because I think that's a really fun thing to do. And you know what? No matter how sucky the mock draft is, it just gives us a more fun second round, right? So Keith, I've already gone toe-to-toe with him a couple times. This is, I think, his third. So let's see how it is. Okay, it's 2.0. I think I probably did like a way too early one for him. Regardless, again, he didn't make the Super Bowl, or he didn't make the draft order, so we're not going to get on him for that. Granted, Bet Online can kiss my ass if they think New York Jets are the worst team, the farthest from the Super Bowl, in my opinion. But that's fine. Doesn't matter. Again, he didn't make the draft order, and it's just based off of Super Bowl odds, not exactly who is the worst team. That being said, Will Anderson number one overall if the Jets are in that situation. If you really are at number one overall, for one, I know this mock doesn't have trades, okay? So let's just put that out there. I would trade down and grab a tackle. That's just me. If you can get 2 first-round picks, a team can move up, get Will Anderson. That's going to be the best-case scenario. That didn't happen. So Will Anderson is the best player on the board. My only issue with that is that you do have a plethora of defensive weapons, and the offensive line is a huge issue. Granted, we're going to be handed a very nice slate with the Jets because, you know, you guys will see, but essentially not all the tackles get taken. So, and you guys have the first pick in the second round. So let's continue on here. Again, he's such a great player. Will Anderson probably is going to be my number one player. Myles Murphy had that throne for a while, but he's on the hot seat, and it's really freaking hot because he has not done jack shit this year. 4 pressures, 3 games. Not my ideal way to start the season after putting up, I think, over 40 the year before. Falcons, Jalen Carter. Honestly, if you want to stick with Desmond Ridder, he is one of the most freaky players. Again, it's a low-value position. You do have to factor that in. But at that point, if you're not trading out, go Jalen Carter. Again, he's a one-of-one type of dude. You just don't see guys who are that type of build. So it might not be the best thing that someone's one-of-one. Remember, when you hear that, it's not saying he is the best of all time, but there's just nobody else like him. So he could be a big bust if he just doesn't work out. Quinnen Williams hasn't exactly been able to pan out, but Jalen Carter could eventually be like Aaron Donald was kind of one-of-one. These guys are unique in their own right. I think Jalen Carter could be really special, so I would be willing to take the shot because worst case scenario, if you're at pick 1 again, you get Caleb Williams next year. There you go, right? Like, you know what? It's a worthy tank, and you know what? Jalen Carter can progress into a stud, even if he fails year 1. Pick number 3, the Texans going Bryce Young. If he's there, you take him, man. He is head and shoulders the QB1 of this class, and like I don't think anybody's relatively close. People are talking about CJ Stroud, how he's thrown 11 touchdowns, 0 picks. Again, I have CJ Stroud as a first-round pick. I bring up the negatives because so many people talk about the positives. He's a big guy who has a good arm. He has moments where he throws ungodly passes. But again, you have to understand that there's 2 sides to a coin, and he pretty much was pedestrian at best versus Notre Dame, and he's getting a lot of hype because he beat up Toledo. You have the best receiving core arguably in the country. That's all I have to say. Again, still have him 28th on my board. It's not like I'm trying to push him out of the first round or anything, but Bryce Young is head and shoulders above every single one of these guys. The only issue is probably he doesn't have an elite arm and he's a little bit smaller, but the Texans can make that work. Panthers going Will Levis. If you add a 0 onto that, he is essentially, I think, 20 spots behind that on my big board. So yeah, he's like, I think around 60. Not a fan of Will Levis. The guy is really good on script. But the thing is, the NFL is always evolving. You're not always on script. And he shows that even against I think it's Youngstown State, he threw 2 turnover-worthy plays. Just, you have to, limit that against shitty teams like that. You really do. It doesn't matter. And simply put, he is volatile. But there's a lot of potential there. So a team like the Panthers, if you're really that patient, then it could work. But I'm just telling you right now, I do not want the coaches there to be able to grow Will Levis. You need a new front office to actually maximize his potential. You need an offensive coordinator that is actually really good at developing QBs, think Brian Dable, to be able to get Will Levis to reach his potential, and Carolina does not have that. Jacksonville going to offensive tackle, I'm going to be 100% blunt here. That makes no sense to me. Jawan Taylor has been absolutely balling out this year. You just gave a 3-year contract to the left tackle. And you have Walker Little on your roster. This seems like a bit of a reach. I'm an offensive line guy. I am 100% fine with offensive line picks, but I'm just going to say, if you have a top 5 pick and you don't think Broderick Jones is even going to start potentially, there's a legitimate concern as to why the hell you're making this pick. And again, I could be getting bit in the ass. I know that some dudes were probably coming up on contracts, including Jawan Taylor, but I think that you don't need to continue adding top 5 picks to a spot where you're trying to develop other guys to be able to start too. And it's not your weakest position by far. I think, again, wide receiver with Jordan Addison would be a really interesting pick here. A lot of people are saying, oh, he's in such a good system. The dude was a top 30 pick. Easily, he's a lock first round when he played at Pitt. And a lot of people had him as wide receiver 1. I had him as wide receiver 3. And now he is solidified 1. Can a good player look good in a good offense? Yes. We saw that with LSU. They had Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Joe Burrow. 3 guys played extremely well. Now, did that originally curb my concerns or boost my concerns on guys like Justin Jefferson, where you're not even as good as Jamar? Yes. And, that's wrong. Because remember, good players can still play in good offenses and still be good players. It doesn't mean because you're in a good offense that your talent is not good enough for the NFL. So, for people who are saying he only looks good because of his offense, just pause. He looked really good in another offense, and he progressed. He looks better as a single athlete. We'll talk about him when the time comes, but Broderick Jones overall would be not my choice there. That was a big tangent on my love for Jordan Addison. CJ Stroud for the Lions, I know a lot of Lions fans don't want a QB. I know a lot of them do. CJ Stroud, if you sit him a year, might be a good guy for that team. And if you're at number 6 overall and you can still pick him up, I would consider it, but I don't know if I'd run to the podium. So that's where I'm at right there. Again, he is number 28 on my big board. 29 is Anthony Richardson, who most likely will be falling a lot further. So we'll talk about Anthony in a second. Myles Murphy to the Seahawks is a great fit. Again, he has unbelievable potential. He's an amazing run defender. And now he just needs to get more consistent with his pass reps. And it kind of sucks because he was really good last year. And now he's taking a little bit of a backseat. So maybe there's an injury we don't know about that he's trying to get back from. He's just trying to play through it. Hopefully that's the case. But unfortunately, our eyes say that he's not good enough to be the number 1 pick, which I was really hoping he would be. Number 8, you got the Giants going Anthony Richardson. Again, I said this about the Panthers when they just got Will Levis right here. You need somebody who's really good at developing quarterbacks to take someone who's very raw and very volatile and put them in a system that actually makes them really good. Now, there was a big experiment with Trey Lance, and obviously that hasn't gone so well. But when you do think about it, the last time I really think Shanahan made the mobile quarterback into someone who's god tier, and again, correct me if I'm wrong here, because again, it's much better to be wrong and then say the right stuff than to act right and just continue bullshitting and being arrogant. But last time I remember, it's RG3. That is a long time ago, and you've been having a lot of success with a certain style of quarterback. So sometimes it doesn't work. But with guys like Dable, who have been used to a mobile quarterback, he's even improving Daniel Jones, this looks like a very positive match. And this is something that I may continue to do, even if Anthony Richardson continues to suck, by moving up with them into the end of the second. Bears are sitting here. They get Jackson Smith and Jigba. You got to get a wide receiver. I don't know if I would want Jackson Smith and Jigba to be the guy there, but I don't really want to add Addison into here because of the fact that you're just getting a bunch of smaller dudes. You do really need somebody besides Equanimous St. Brown. So I'd be full support of this. Again, offensive line is a legit concern. Like even Larry Borum's letting up a lot of pressures this year. So I would just say there is reason to have concern. I think Braxton Jones has played as well, and he's been letting up a lot. So we got to keep our eyes out on that. Am I right? I think Braxton Jones. I'm thinking of the kid from UTSA's on the Niners. Yeah, so I think it's Braxton Jones I'm talking about. So yeah, there's a lot of routes you can go. It's unfortunate. The Bears will not be drafting 9. They probably will be drafting number 1 overall when all is said and done. Commanders going Trent Simpson. He is a freak, but it's a very low value position in a very poor linebacker class. I would say watch out for free agency or watch out for a round 2 guy like Mikel Jones to be able to step into here. Steelers going Skoronski. I have him as my number 4 player in the draft. The guy's a freak. Yeah, you guys should watch him Skoronski tape. He's ridiculous now. Put on 20 pounds, still athletic. Arm size, sure, it might be a little bit of a concern. He is 6'4" though, and that's very encouraging because of the fact that if you're taller and an edge rusher is here, usually they have lower leverage. You have to put your arms down to block them, which reduces, obviously, you go like that, you shorten your effective range when you have to block somebody and you're really tall with short arms. If you are shorter, it's more of a direct line in a very rudimentary way. I'm just saying, since he's shorter, it actually helps out because he doesn't have as long of arms. It helps that he's shorter because he doesn't have to exactly overextend as much. I have faith in Peter Skoronski. Just pray. Just pray that the arm length is not that bad. Kayshon Boutte for the Patriots. He's had some personality concerns, but I do think Belichick could probably be one of the guys to get him in line. They do need wide receiver desperately, so I think that's a very solid move. Titans going Noah Sewell. I think that is a weird move, to be 100% honest. Weird move. But he's still a good player. Again, low value position. I'm going to continue harping on this. Low value position with players who are barely able, I think that Noah Sewell is barely a first. It's really tough to convince me that he should be, 2 linebackers should go in the top 15 after this past year where there were linebackers that were way better, that fell, granted, one because of injury, until the 3rd round. There were still guys who I had as first-round quality players in the 3rd round. Why the heck would we start overdrafting this year when we just didn't want to address anything last year? That's just my take right there. Titans need wide receiver help. They need offensive line help. All of that is here. And getting a linebacker sure as hell is not going to get you one step closer to being a legitimate contender again. In 14, you got the Cowboys here going Paris Johnson. I think the fact that he can play guard as well, similar to Tyler Smith, would be actually a really good thing for the team because you have a short-term and long-term option at the same time. That's why I really like the Tyler Smith move. He's been playing well. He's accelerated his growth. Surprisingly, he's actually playing left tackle at a very high level. I didn't even think that was possible, and I was his biggest fanboy. So Tyler Smith's crazy, but Paris Johnson is a really good move. Honestly, I'm a big fan of that pick. Cam Smith to the Cardinals, I like it as well. I have a 2nd-round grade on Cam, but you know what? Cornerback is desperate, and Cam is a very good fit. Texans going Breesy. Again, I don't have him in my first yet, but he does flash some potential to be there. Injury concerns are very legitimate. He missed all of last year after the first game, and I think he's already missing some time this year. He missed the last game. Same thing, I think, with Miles Murphy. But, if you're missing time, the best ability is availability. And I highly doubt that people are going to want to draft Breesy given his track record. Not draft him, but draft him this high, given his track record of being in the medical tent rather than on the field. Vegas going Andrew Voorhees. I think that's a phenomenal option. Granted, I'd rather go a tackle like Anton Harrison, but Andrew Voorhees is second to probably that. And, he's a really damn good player. Eagles going Bijan. It makes sense. I think it's a great move for the team overall. Again, you're using a free pick, so to speak, because you still got really damn good players. But, Bijan is a really damn good player. He is. I just personally, I'm going to be honest here, given the amount of running backs, I would much rather be like, hey, I'm going to get the best corner on the board. Yeah, I'll lose out on Bijan, but I'd much rather have a top 10 running back and a top 5 corner than a top 30 corner and a top 2 running back in the NFL. That's me personally, because I think the offense is already so good that it's almost too many mouths to feed if you get Bijan and you force it. While the defense, you still can have a couple pieces to plug in there and make it that much better. I legitimately said the Eagles could make the Super Bowl, okay? So I was on this hype train long before a lot of people were. I had them going, I'm going 14-3, and then I boosted to 15-2. Legitimately think the Eagles are absolute studs. Keely Ringo to the Bengals. Again, we're going another first-round corner, or first-round DB to the Bengals, but I don't think that's a bad option at all. Like, Eli Apple's been kind of a meme, and he has some good games. He has some good reps, but at the end of the day, consistency matters, and if you let up a big play and then make a big play, eventually you really need to start making more big plays than letting them up, and he's not really on that type of trajectory right now. I think it's a very good move given the fact that Keely Ringo is a top corner in the class, so I'm fine with it. Colts getting Jordan Addison would be nasty. I think Pittman, Pierce, Addison would be a ridiculous trio. And then again, Paris Campbell's there, but he's just not really healthy. Similar to Breezy, he's just not healthy. He's not available. Seahawks going Henry To'oTo'o. Again, it's a position that they really need to address. He's the only other linebacker damn near close to worth a first-round pick. There are some dudes who are trying to make their name there. Mikel Jones. I know that some people have messaged me about a couple other linebackers as well. But again, very low value position, very tough to perform at a high level year one because it's just such a different game at the NFL level. So just be wary of that. Vikings going Michael Mayer. I think it's fine. I like to go tight end for the Vikings myself. So I don't think Michael Mayer is a first round pick. He's a good college tight end who can't separate. I think that he's still worth a second round pick. But the hype that he is the next Gronk, I don't buy it. But I do think that with the distraction of Jefferson out there, and then for however long Thielen's alive, Michael Mayer might actually have a really good start to his career. Dolphins going Jalen. This hype on Jalen Duncan, man, I tell you. Like, people love Jalen Duncan when there's guys who are literally playing right tackle right now, like Darnell. This is not a punt. This actually came out of nowhere. Darnell Wright. Like, there are guys, even in the second round, that are worth way more than Jalen Duncan in my eyes, and they play the position you need to draft. Don't get it. Seriously, don't. Ravens going Kyu Blue Kelly. There's so many better corners on the board. Again, I don't want to speak bad on anybody, because, again, we are, all here for certain reasons. I'm sure that, some of the stuff I said about earlier mocks ended up biting me in the ass last year. But Kyu Blue Kelly just got freaking roasted by Jordan Addison, and there are corners who are absolute lockdown on the board, and you choose the guy who just is an absolute turnstile at the moment for dudes to just get right past him. I like Kyu Blue Kelly. I think of him maybe as a late day 2 guy, but my God, putting him in the first and to the Baltimore Ravens when Joey Porter is on the board, who's amazing in press and has unbelievable field awareness and is a great run defender, makes no sense. It mind boggles me. But that's okay. It just means I get to draft him. So, you know what? Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Packers going Quentin Johnston. I think that is a phenomenal move. Not very realistic, but phenomenal. Just a really good player. I'd have him as a late first, early second round pick. And you know what? Given his value, I think that's perfectly fine. Lions going Gervon Dexter. I don't know how many more dudes you can have on that interior, and I still think a DB should be necessary. You took a quarterback with your first pick, very high level, and now you're taking an interior defensive lineman. There's a certain point where you need to press pause on building up the defensive line. There's other positions that need to be addressed. I think Antonio Johnson being a Swiss Army knife safety, slot corner, boundary corner, that's where you should look. And that's where I usually do in my mock drafts. That's my dream pick for him. And he's still on the board. So, again, there's also really good corners. Don't really get the value of that pick. Chargers going Cornelius Johnson. I haven't studied Cornelius enough to be 100% frank with you. But just I feel like this is a Wan'Dale Robinson type of thing where we want to put a fun name in there, and I know TDN does that a lot to get clicks. Surprisingly, I mean, it's different, but I do think the Chargers could try to look for a wide receiver. I think I might have had them going Jermaine Burton in my mock draft because I think that's a great move. That honestly might have been the Packers. But I still think the Chargers going wide receiver, very solid move. Eagles going Jordan Battle. Listen, he went back to school because he didn't like his grade, and he's not performing better this year than he was last. The bottom line is the NFL doesn't see Jordan Battle as an elite safety. He doesn't have anything that's really special. He's a jack of all trades, master of none, and I don't really think the threshold's very high on the things he does extremely well. Personally, I think that he has some highlight games for sure, but when you watch every single rep, where again, consistency really matters at a safety position, he just doesn't have it. Simply put, he does not have it to be a first-round pick. Now, could he be a third? 100%. But when you're talking about pick 28 here, my God, no. No, again, there's really damn good corners on the board. Much higher level position in terms of return, as well as much better players as well. G's going Foskey. I actually did this in my mock draft, but in the second, I think that he's a very high ceiling player with a very low floor, who honestly is not as good as people think. He had a really good week this last week. I'm very excited to be proven wrong by him, but at the moment, he's not a first-round pick. Bucks getting Jahmyr Gibbs. I love it. Big fan of being able to get a really good weapon for whoever the hell is playing quarterback. He's just so dynamic. He deserves that type of respect, so I'm very happy to see that. And then Brian Branch, safety out of Alabama, corner, slot corner. A really good player, so I'm a big fan of that pick as well. Just a huge fan of Buffalo being able to use another versatile DB in their backfield. Let's slide right over to the mock draft. Again, everything is up to date. Now, we might have to go back because your boy slipped up on and actually mixed up 2 picks on here. It's okay. It's perfectly fine. We will just probably have to trade with the Broncos, or the Broncos pick right here, as well as the Vikings. If I'm not mistaken, I fucked it up. But that's okay. It's not really going to alter the draft. But that's okay. Pick number 32. I already talked about this. Offensive line is paramount. We went after a defensive end / edge rusher. And Anton Harrison's here. He's a top 15 player on my board. You need offensive line help. He's played both right tackle and left now for Oklahoma. So, just slot him in, dude. Just do it. Pick number 33. We have the Falcons on the board. And I want to continue. Oh, my God. The guys who are still on the board. Holy crap. And again, this isn't everybody. Dude, this is ridiculous. I honestly think that you should probably go corner here. Just from the bottom of my heart, I think that Casey Hayward is a really good guy to have as 2. But I think we're forgetting about the fact that you should probably have 2 corners. Garrett Williams is a stud. He's going to be probably running the 4-3s. Sticky as a guy in man coverage. I'm just a huge fanboy of him, so locking him in certainly is the right tactic. We got Bryce Young as well as Brian Breesy for the Texans. And I'm actually going to get one of my favorite players in the draft, Andre Carter, 6'7", 260 pounds. The guy is just a monster, and he's going to be so good, man. His freakiness is just off the charts. I'm a huge fan. Pick 35 for the Panthers. You guys got Will Levis. I am so sorry. Just from the bottom of my heart, I am sorry. So, I'm going to try to make it up to you guys. We'll try to find somebody. And your guards are honestly playing really well. I want to get Osiris Torrance so badly. No way. Dead ass, literally the Jags might get him. And I drafted him in the first round for him. Wide receiver's not a need. I just wanted to look at who's there according to PFF. We all know PFF doesn't update their board enough. But, I mean, when looking at this team, I honestly, it kind of sucks. The tackle position is still not exactly, it's secured for the long run, not the short. I think you could look at a tight end here. You could. There's no tight end for the squad. You already have your quarterback now. God forbid. You have your running back. You have an unbelievable amount of weapons. Again, Brady Christensen's developing as a good guard as well. I think that your defense is honestly pretty fine. You could go after Antonio Johnson. And that might be the best case scenario. Last time you got a really versatile defensive back in Jeremy Chin, it freaking blew up. So I'm going to go Antonio Johnson here. I'm going to screw over every chance I had of giving him to the Lions again. So from the bottom of my heart, again, I'm sorry, Lions fans. But pick number 36. I think wide receiver should be a paramount pick here. I think Jermaine Burton would be a really fun option for Trevor Lawrence. Again, in the first round, we went after a tackle. We did. Broderick Jones. Which is, again, Broderick Jones, stud. No shade at Broderick Jones. But bottom line, you need to continue giving some weapons to a top-end quarterback. And then Jermaine Burton's a really good way to start. Pick number 37. So the Lions, I still say you guys need defensive backs. And there are a lot of them, including Joey Porter, who I think would be a really good guy to bring on your squad. Again, the threshold's very low. So getting a guy like Joey Porter, who is top 8 on my board, not out of the question. Now, I want to look at maybe some other positions to target, including guard with Osiris Torrance. I know that one of the guards is not performing extremely well, and it's bugging me right now that I don't remember the name. But that is something I would like to look at. You can't ignore top 10 on my board. Joey Porter Jr., if you can't get one DB in the first, at least I can give it to you guys here in the second. Pick number 38, the Seahawks are on the board. Joey Porter probably would have been my pick for you guys right there. But I know you guys have these really dynamic, versatile young DBs, including one that I have a second round grade on in Tariq Woolen. But I still think that there is some work to be done. And I do think that you could go after Tyreek Stevenson. However, I am going to go to the swamp and go after a monster guard, which we'll just click Will McDonald. It's not in the system. Osiris Torrance, first round grade for me, and he's definitely going to be a first round lock when all is said and done. The dude's been balling out at Florida. He came from Louisiana, and he just taken it up a notch. So big fan right there, helping out the offensive line even more. Pick number 39. The New York Giants are back on the board after taking Anthony Richardson. Again, I would look at guard if Osiris were still on the board, but I really want to look at this cornerback room, and I'm really liking Tyreek Stevenson here. Granted, we all know they like these slot-type cornerbacks, so Clark Phillips might be down their alley. Same thing with Eli Ricks. He's a really good player. So personally, those are the ways that I would want to look. Tight end, another really good option. But I'm not going to stop myself from getting an absolute freak, 6'2", 212, returns punts in Tyreek Stevenson. That dude is locked down. I'm a huge fan of Tyreek Stevenson. The Bears are on the board at pick 40, and their first pick, what'd they get him? Probably Jackson. Yeah, they got Jackson Smith and Jigba. We need offensive line, desperately. And I might go after Wright. I know that people are going to say, like, oh, give time for the tackles, like Braxton Jones. Like, we might just want to do that at the moment, but I'm looking at the other positions at target, and I might want to go another wide receiver, but I really want to go offensive line here, guys, and I think that the best way to do it is through Darnell Wright, and so we're going to, I don't like Robert Scott enough anymore. We're going to draft Darnell Wright out of Tennessee, left and right tackle experience, second round grade for me. Just a guy who you really should try to slot in. You got Washington on the board now. Their first round pick was Trent Simpson. God only knows why. But we are going to end up going after Eli Ricks, who a lot of people take for him in the first round. I think DB is paramount for the team to be able to continue stacking up. There's not much that you can upgrade at this moment, so I think that's a really good way to start. The Steelers are on the board, and their first round pick was Peter Skoronski, if I'm not mistaken, which would be my dream as a Steelers fan. So now, unfortunately, my God, I mean, I know we don't draft corners from the U, but Tyreek Stevenson would be nice. I'm going to actually draft my number 1 overall corner in the draft. Again, that is to be confirmed after he gets a little bit better from his ankle injury. We're going to have it be Noah Daniels as the placeholder, but it's going to be Jalen Jones, cornerback from Texas A&M, 6'2", 205 pounds, unbelievable field awareness. I think I drafted him for the Steelers in my last mock, so this is a dream come true. Those guys both play at an extremely high level, so I'm very excited to have both Skoronski and Jones on the squad. One other guy who I would mention in there is J.L. Skinner, who is a freak. But let's continue. Pick 43, we have the Patriots. And honestly, I want to boost their pass rush super badly because I have a top 15 player on my board. And he's not even listed. His name is Will McDonald IV. Yeah, the guy is just he's an absolute monster out of Iowa State. His buddy, I think it's J something Anderson. It might be J.D. Anderson. Dude's going off as well. Big fan of what they're doing there at Iowa State. Pick 44. The Titans are on the clock. And who did they go after in the first? They went, oh my God. I'm so sorry. Noah Sewell. Wide receiver wise, I still think you guys could try to fix some things up. And honestly, I really like the idea of Rakim Jarrett on the squad because I don't know about the tackles at the moment. You might want to fix that in free agency. Rakim Jarrett is just somebody where Malik Willis is going to throw a screen to him. He's going to take it 50 yards to the touchdown. He really is that special. Treylon Burks is looking good, as he should. That's kind of an offense that is built for him. So, Rakim Jarrett, and then as well as, Treylon Burks. It's a good combo. Big fan of that. Pick 45, the Cowboys went Paris Johnson in the first. Now, do we dare go after a quarterback? No. Tyler Van Dyke's here, and Tanner McKee is as well. But I know a lot of people are clamoring for it. And I don't have the stones, to be blunt with you, to actually draft someone like that at the moment. But it's a good idea. Again, I got absolutely shitted on in 2020 for saying that I would trade him at his height rather than wait and pay him and just, know that he just can't bring the team to the Super Bowl. But that's me. Out of respect, we're not going to do that. I think edge rusher would not be a bad option. Again, you have Micah Parsons there, who could be an amazing mentor to BJ Ojolari, Darrell Shami, ZTF. Those three guys I think are absolute studs. So keep your eye out for that. Again, I think wide receiver is definitely a position I would want to target. And there are some really good guys here. But the problem is I don't exactly know if any of them really solved the issue just yet. So I think it's a round one issue. I would have went Quentin Johnston in the first, honestly, and went after offensive line here in the second with Blake Freeland or Javon Foster. And that's kind of going against what I usually do. But we can't do that. This is a tough pick for me. And honestly, I want to just go out of the box and go after my favorite safety in the draft, and that's J.L. Skinner. Not my favorite safety, but for the value, and just say screw it. I'm not going to. Oh man, do I go after a wide receiver at this point? I think we do. We go after a wide receiver. We're going to go after Zay Flowers, wide receiver out of Boston College. The dude is really special. You really do have to watch him. He can play on the boundary. He can play in the slot. He made Andrew Booth look like a tool. You really do kind of want him as your wide receiver too, and that's perfect for this team. Pick 46, we have the Cards on the board. And again, this team, in my opinion, could use some help on the defensive interior. I think Tyler Davis is someone who I would definitely consider for him. They went corner in round one. I applaud them for that. I would look still for somebody to help out in round two in the line, but I'm really not exactly seeing that at the moment, and I think Humphrey's been playing really well. So I'm very happy to see that. So when you look at the guys that they could be going after, tight end, no. Running back. I think running back's a good move. I think Devon Achane. Oh, man. Can you imagine Devon Achane and Kyler Murray? Oh, I think I did. Didn't I do this in my second round? That might have been my exact pick. I think that is Devon Achane because I talked about Rondale Moore, Kyler Murray, as well as, obviously Devon Achane in that group. Just some crazy track stars, man, and it's going to be ridiculous. It's going to be primetime type of stuff. 4.24 speed. 47, we got the Browns. And, we'll see what happens. But, quarterback might be on the horizon if some shit actually does go down eventually. Right now, that's not the case, and we're not going to assume it. So, I think finally addressing the edge rusher position is a good idea. BJ Ojolari just had a 6 pressure game, showing that he is on the up, and he has a freak build. I'm a big fan of taking BJO right there. You have the Raiders on the board. Who do they go after? They went after a guard in the first, didn't they? They did, and Andrew Voorhees. Love it. Problem is, you still need a corner. Pretty desperately. And I think Clark Phillips wouldn't be a bad option to have on the boundary. I don't know if I'm exactly going to pull the trigger on that. I love Chris Abrams-Drain a lot. If you guys want a slot, which you don't, you have Nate Hobbs, who's a freaking stud, then that's a good way to go. Now, I do know Jonathan Abrams on his last legs, and I am very excited to bring another versatile DB into the squad, because if you can't get a corner, get a top-end safety. J.L. Skinner, 6'4", 220, and an absolute freak on the field. Number 26 on my board. Pick 49, we have the Saints finally coming in, and they're going to go QB, because if you can't make the playoffs with Jameis, you might as well see if you can get it with McKee. McKee's not getting very much negative press. Van Dyke looks like he should go back for another year. He'll still probably be taken, probably at the next pick, but we just have to put that in there. He's not there yet. The Bengals still could use offensive line, in my opinion. You have 2 years left with Jonah Williams, and he's not performing that well. But I think tight end would be a really good option. Jaheim Bell, Eric Gilbert, Sam Laporta. I think Laporta is a little bit more of a Bengals tight end. I had him in the first when I did my first mock draft. I think Laporta is an absolute beast. Stop sleeping on him. Everybody stop sleeping on him. He's a beast. But pick number 51, I'm going to go Tyler Van Dyke. It's time to get another succession plan in there than Sam Ehlinger. Matt Ryan just ain't it, unfortunately. It hurts me to say that, but he right now does not look lethal enough. Pick 52 for the Vikings. I think they went after possibly a wide receiver in the first. Oh, I tripped up. So this is the pick I fucked up. So we went after Michael Mayer in the first. And I think that that's a great pick. But I still think corner should be something we at least look at. And I'm going to take a shot on Clark Phillips here. He's 185 pounds, but he can play boundary corner. He played really well against Drake London, who was a top 10 pick. He deserves some respect, and we're going to give it to him. Pick 53 for the Dolphins. I know everybody wants to cry out for a corner, and I'm going to give you guys a corner safety hybrid. Chris Abrams-Drain, he's a top 32 player on my board. Worst case scenario, you get another really damn good DB. He's a very light at 177, but his talent is off the chart. You have the San Francisco 49ers here. I am going to do this once again. Get some offensive line help. Some good offensive line help. John Michael Schmitz is a top 50 guy on my board. He's a really, really good player. Now, again, technically, this should have been up here, but when we're actually thinking about it, I probably wouldn't have done anything with the players that have been drafted, just to be honest. Like, I don't think I would go after Clark Phillips or Chris Abrams-Drain. So, we're still in the same spot that we were. We got Osiris Torrance. We got, did we get Noah Sewell? No, we got Henry To'oTo'o. And then, now, we are in the driver's seat with, who did we get in the first? Did we actually get Bryce Young? No, we didn't. Got Myles Murphy. There we go. That's good, because I was looking at edge. But let's see where we can address now. Tight end, no. Running back, no. Like, quarterback, again, if Tyler Van Dyke were on the board, kind of a dream. Not the case. Again, you could look at corner, but those guys wouldn't have been the guys I would want to look at. This is actually a really weird spot. This is a very weird spot. I want to look at Tyler Davis here because I don't think the defensive interior is going to be... Like, I know you got Shelby Harris, but Tyler Davis is actually really good. I think you guys should watch him. I actually had him graded higher than Breesy for a time. So, I'm just saying. Has my stamp of approval at least. I think that's what I'm going to do. Again, just you really need to hit on some players. I think Tyler Davis as a pass-rushing defensive interior, he really does bring the heat. So, big fan of Tyler Davis. Pick 56... The Caillou Blue-Kellied fucking Baltimore Ravens. God forbid that you guys actually draft right. But I think running back would be interesting. Again, J.K. Dobbins has not been healthy. You have just kind of like a turnstile in terms of the amount of running backs that come in and leave. But you also saw that, this team looked pretty vulnerable. And we're not going to get Justin Flo. We're getting Mikael Jones from Syracuse. He's been performing really well. I think he could take a big jump, and this team desperately needs that help. Pick 57, the Packers got Quentin Johnston in the first. I think that's great. I also think you can develop an offensive lineman. Blake Freeland is great in the run game. That's going to be a very good addition. He can even play guard in the short term. He's 6'8", and he can just absolutely maul anybody. Also taking him from a rival in the Rams, who I think are going to be perfectly fine with Javon Foster, who's been playing out of his mind. as a tackle from Missouri. So, yeah, there's some good stuff going on. Pick number 59, the Chargers. I'm going to make sure that I have not drafted this player yet. And I have, because I was like, ooh, I was seeing if Wright was available. He could play right tackle over Storm Norton. But that's not the case. You guys went after the Michigan wide receiver in the first. Therefore, I still want to look on the interior. Not seeing anybody I'm really excited about. Jacqueline Roy has some potential, but not there yet. Not there yet, in my opinion. So I'm going to go running back. We're going to actually go Sean Tucker here. Great compliment back now for that backfield. Looking good. You don't have to have Kelly as your RB2. You can have Eckler and Tucker. That's just how you continue to take pressure off your bruised, ribbed quarterback. Technically, it's broken cartilage, but you guys know the deal. The Eagles are sitting here, and this is the exact reason why I was saying I go corner in the first, running back in the second. Guys, look at the amount of running backs that are left. Look at this shit. This is why you don't draft a running back in the first. This draft specifically. Simply put, there's nothing left in the corner room. There's nothing. It's barren at the moment. And you already went safety. So this is kind of like low-key a very fucked pick, but we're going to make the most of it. Again, I would honestly trade out of this spot if I were in this situation. Defensive interior, I guess this is where, if you're really left with no options, Jacqueline Roy as somebody to come in because Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox are up. That's where you do it. Like, legitimately, this is a really sucky pick. Like, I'm going to try to find some guys. We can go after an edge rusher. I guess that's the only way I can really bring myself to it. I'm going to go Darrell Shawmy here. He is an absolute freak, 6'4", 260 pounds. He's Isaiah Foskey, but good. And that's a hot take, but I do think Darrell Shawmy is just a freak. Pick 61, speaking of a team that has Foskey now, is the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going running back here, and I think that Blake Corum would be really fun. Deuce Vaughn might be my pick, though. Out of respect for my true RB2, we're going to actually give him some love here. The dude's a really good player. Big fan of Deuce Vaughn. So he's going to be adding a new versatile weapon there in the receiving game. And he's a really good running back. He's just a little bit small. And that's A-okay. Pick 62, a team that got Jahmyr Gibbs. You have the Buccaneers. And I think that, again, I didn't even click on wide receiver, but quarterback-wise, you could just have some fun here. Go the kid from Jacksonville State or something like that. Jackson State. Not going to do that. Sorry. Edge rusher, though, I think could be a really good option. When in doubt, go edge rusher. ZTF has a lot of potential, so finally take another guy who, if he hits his stride, could be well worth a first-round pick. Then last, but certainly not least, the Brian Branch appended. That's a word we use in Python. The newly acquired Brian Branch will be joining another player in this round to the Bills. That was absolutely atrocious way of going around saying we're with the Bills. A guard would be great. I don't think anybody's good enough. I really don't. Layden Robinson's been ass. He's been straight booty cheeks. And I'm not a big fan of drafting booty cheeks. But I am a big fan of drafting Eric Gilbert. I'm a big fan of trying to get another super weapon, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So let me know what you guys think. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. See you on the far side. Peace.